Hey. Okay, we are going to, I'm sorry, I'm out today, obviously. And so I wanted to go over the lesson that I did with my first two classes before I had to leave. So today, like I said last week, we're going to be doing just science this week. And everything that we're going to talk about in science this week is how to tell the difference between what weather is and what climate is. And so they're very related, like they've got a lot of similarities to them. But for starters, I just wanted to show you some definitions of what weather is and what climate is. And then we will talk about them, or you will talk about them for a little bit together in some groups and try and sort some words out. And Miss Shipman will be pausing the video along the way so that y'all can get some different tasks done. But again, I just wanted to be able to explain this stuff to you because I know it's new. It's the first day that we're doing it. And so I just wanted y'all to hear it from me and see the stuff that we have to work with. So let me pull up the camera so that I can show you these definition cards that I have. So first of all, these should be hanging up on the board. Hopefully I remembered before I left to put them up there. And so what we've got are, like I said, weather and climate. And so while they are related, they are very different. And so I just want to make sure that we understand the difference. So for weather, it says weather is the condition of the atmosphere for a short time. Now notice short is in all capital letters because it is very important. So it says the condition of the atmosphere. And let's not forget, when we talked about the water cycle last time, we talked about how we have a globe, and there is this invisible bubble that kind of goes around the globe that everything in the air fits in. So it's where the clouds are. It's where the condensation happens and the evaporation stuff. It gets the evaporation goes from the ground up into this atmosphere or the air that surrounds the earth. So if we're talking about things like far, far away, like outer space kind of far, those things are outside of our atmosphere. But clouds, animals that fly, airplanes that fly, all those kinds of things, those will all be located in our atmosphere, just outside of the earth. And this, again, like I said, it's like an imaginary bubble that surrounds us. So whenever the definition says the condition of the atmosphere, we're talking about things like, is it cloudy? Is it rainy? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it windy? All these different words that would describe the weather. Now, what I want to point out, though, is like it says here, where it says it's a short time. So over a short time means it could be something different, like you may think something is short that I may think is long. If it's something that you like and I don't like, then I may think, oh my gosh, this is going on forever, and you may think it's a really short time. So just to be clear, for short time for our weather unit, short would mean anything that's happening like in the next few days or even weeks. But if it's something that happens like year after year or decade after decade, those types of things, those would be considered long times. So for short time, if you've ever seen, I don't know, on the news or on your weather app on your phone or your iPad, you've probably seen some kind of picture like this that will tell you what the weather conditions are for the day. And so again, these are talking about weather because they're all short term, like things that are happening today or in the next couple of hours or even in just the next couple of days. So those are all considered short times. So it tells us here that in this city of Seattle, which is Washington State, they have a temperature in September that feels like 25. So their weather is far different than our weather because it was in the 20s for us in January, just the other day during our snow days. But typically in Texas, it does not get down to 25 most often, especially not in September. I don't know if y'all can think back to September, but that was when we were still like wearing shorts and short sleeve shirts, and we were hot. If you have a pool at home, you were probably still swimming in your pool on the weekends. I know we were at my house. So lots of differences in weather. But also, if you look over here, there's some different symbols and things that are important. The ones that I want to point out are like this symbol right here, this little raindrop looking thing, and then it says 60% out to the side. It's saying that on this day, September 15th, there's a 60% chance of precipitation. So they put a raindrop symbol here because it's going to be rainy. Now, if it's 25 degrees, there's a good chance that that rain is actually going to turn into snow. So it could be that it's going to snow that day too. It just all depends on how bright the sun is and whether or not it melts the snow before it hits the Earth's surface. Okay, it also tells you how fast the wind is going to be blowing here. It tells you what direction the wind is going to be blowing from. It talks about the pressure, which we don't have to know in fourth grade, but just wanted you to see that. Then it also tells us all these different days that are coming up. So if this is happening on Monday, oh, that's interesting. I don't know why they went all the way back to Sunday here. Maybe they just wanted to show you the day before. But so they have a Sunday forecast, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So these are all just in the next week of when this day is happening. And so again, we're still talking about weather because those are considered short times from then. So the condition of the atmosphere for a short time, those are weather related things. Now, if we move on to climate, then like I said, it's related for sure, but it does have a different definition. There says the average temperature and precipitation in an area over a long period of time. So now instead of us just talking about what's happening that day or what's happening that week or over the next few days, now we're talking about things that are happening over a long period of time. So we're talking about things that happen over years or decades or centuries. So this is long periods of time. So for instance, my family, we go on vacation in June or July of every single year. So in the summertime, sometimes we go on vacation to other states, but lots of times we go on vacation here in Texas. And so for relatives of mine that live out of state, we tell them if they're going to come on vacation, like, hey, in June or July in Texas, in our area of Texas, it's generally very hot. Like we're talking 100 degrees about, and also it's typically pretty wet in June and July. So it rains quite a bit compared to most other places. So those are words that I'm using to explain the climate of Texas at that time. So I can't look it up on my phone right now or on the website to see if it's going to be raining on June the 5th when we're having vacation this year, but I can get a good guess to what it's probably going to be like just based on the climate of our area over a long period of time. So the picture that they give you on this one, it just shows a picture of a desert with some sand dunes and the sun up here, and there's some like cracks down here in this, good gracious, I don't know why I can't think of the word, but just on the ground of the desert. And so the description on the picture says, a hot, arid desert. Hot just means that obviously it's hot. Arid means that the air is very dry. So it's just telling you things that are happening over a long period of time. So because it's all cracked and things like this, I know that it's got to have been dry and also hot for a very long time. Otherwise, that won't happen. So they're describing the climate over a long period of time. Now, Miss Shipman is going to be giving you a stack of 15, I believe it's 15 little pieces of paper that have different words on it. And you and your table group are going to try and sort these into two different groups, a climate group and a weather group. She's going to pass them out at the ends of all of these tables, and you're going to work together as a whole table group. Once you think you have a stack of weather and a stack of climate, you're going to leave your stack at this end desk, this first desk right down here, and you're going to come and sit on the floor so that she can tell you what you're going to do next. So, Ms. Shipman, you can go ahead and pause the video so that they can sort their cards. Okay, so now that they're all sorted, I want to sort my cards so that I can show you what you should have sorted yours like. Now, what your sort, it's the very first day. It's not for a grade or anything like that. But I just wanted to see, just based off of the definitions, what you and your group thought were either climate or weather. So I've got two different boards, a climate board and a weather board. And so let me start with weather. So weather, remember, we said our definition of weather was the condition of the atmosphere for a short time. So something that's happening like right now, in the next couple of hours or days, or some of those types of things. So, in fact, let me get a set of cards that are not already sorted. So first of all, if I'm looking at this word usually, well, if I say it's usually snowy in January in Minnesota, usually is telling me what it's like in January of Minnesota. Or it's usually hot in the summertime here. That's saying that what it usually does, so that's over a long period of time, like every year in January, it's pretty much snowing in Minnesota. So usually would not be a weather word because it's not about what's happening like right now. It's about what's happening over long periods of time. So I'm going to move this one over to climate. Always, same thing. If I say, oh my gosh, it is always the wettest in March. then I'm saying every March it is the wettest. I can't say like every Monday, it's always raining on a Monday. That wouldn't make any sense. But also, that's not talking about like just this one time, and we can't predict what it's going to be doing next week at all. So always would be another word where we're explaining climate, like what it normally is doing all the time. Okay, so I'm going to move that one over. Ooh, day of the week. So if I say, hey guys, on Tuesday of this week, it's going to be rainy. It is supposed to be rainy on Tuesday of this week. But that would be a weather statement because it's talking about something specific, soon, and like in the very near future. Short term. Well, short term should have been a simple one that you know to put over here because, again, our definition had the word short in all caps. So short term should be here. Okay, which means obviously long term should be over there in the climate section. So I'm going to move that one over there. Okay, this word you may not have known. Miss Shipman may have had to help you figure out what this word means, but annual. Normally you hear the word annually, like, oh, that happens annually in February. Like Valentine's Day happens annually in February. Annual or annually means that it happens every year. So this, again, is another one of those long-term words. So I'm going to move annual over to climate. Okay, today, remember, weather is talking about something that is happening in short term. So right now, today, the weather is potentially rainy too. Again, I don't know because I'm recording this video before today, but it's supposed to be rainy on Monday too. So we'll say that here. Okay, majority. Again, it's another one of those words that means like, oh, the majority of the time in summer, it's around 100 degrees. Well, that would be a climate word because it's talking about most of the time, what is it doing over these long periods of time. So I'm going to move that one over to climate. Now would be a weather word, like right now it's rainy outside, or right now the sun is shining, or right now there are no clouds in the sky. Those are all things telling us about the atmosphere right now in short term. Okay, a decade or decades. I don't know if you know this. Miss Shipman may have answered this question for you too, but a decade is 10 years. So if we're talking about something that happens over 10 years or longer, like 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, we're talking about things that happen over a long period of time. So decades needs to move over here to the climate. A week. If it's talking about a week, typically weather forecasters can make good predictions on what's happening for about 7 days or so. So we would consider this a short term. So remember when we looked at our picture here, we had shown that there are these 7 days listed under here, and I still refer to this as weather. So again, about 7 days out, we can still consider it a weather outlook. So we're going to put that one on this side. Okay, the next one says average. And again, average is one of those other words where if you're talking about an average, you have to have a lot of information that you're putting together. So I would say like the average temperature in June is 98 degrees. That would be an average thing that we have to test out over and over again year after year in June to know what their average is. So I'm going to move that one over here to climate as well. Next I have day. So day, obviously, is talking about right here, right now, and so that will stay over here in the weather side. Years. Years is longer periods of time. So again, I can't predict what it's going to be like on February the 27th, because that's like a month from now. Or I can't say what it's going to be like on January of 2026. So that would not be a weather word. That would be a climate word. And then the last one was current. And so current means like currently, what's going on right now. So again, this would stay on this side, the weather words. So for weather, we've got things like current or currently, day, week, now, today, day of the week, and short term. And then just to show you what should have been in the climate side, we have years, average, decades, majority, like the majority of the time, annual or annually, usually, always, and long term. So those are talking about things that happen over a long period of time of us observing different things that are happening. So that's how your sort should have gone. If it didn't, that's fine. You're learning, just now learning actually. So it's okay if you missed some or a lot of those. But I just wanted to show you how it should have been sorted. Now, the next thing that Miss Shipman is going to do is she is going to pass out this weather versus climate paper to you, And just so you know, in fact, let me see if I can zoom this out any. Oof, I can't. Okay, you are going to cut out 3 things from here and you are going to throw away the rest. So, for this paper, you need to cut out this right here, this rectangle that says weather on the left and climate on the right. Now, it's got little dotted lines there in the middle. Do not cut those. We're just cutting out one big rectangle. So you're going to cut out this rectangle. You're also going to cut out the map rectangle right here. Again, we're not cutting anything apart about it. And we're going to cut out this. And same thing, we are not cutting it apart. So in the end, you should have 3 rectangles. The weather and climate one, the one with the map on it, and this one. So Miss Shipman is going to pause the video and you're going to cut out with your scissors these 3 things in front of you. Okay, Ms. Shipman is also going to pause it again because I forgot to tell you before we paused it last time, but you need to take out a few either colored pencils, that would be best, but if you don't have colored pencils and you'd rather take out crayons, I'm fine with that. No markers, we don't color with pens or any of those kinds of things, but colored pencils are best, or if you don't have those today, then crayons work fine too. But for right now, I need for you to take out, there are going to be 5 of them. In fact, let me show you mine. You need to have out these 5 colors. So any shade of blue will do, a yellow, a green, any shade of green, by the way, and then a purple and an orange. So again, the 5 colors, blue, yellow, green, purple, and orange. So Miss Shipman can go ahead and pause it again and you'll get those out and then we will use all 5 of those colors. So now that you have your colors out or your colored pencils out, whichever one you decided to get out, let's just use the the orange and the purple first. So orange and purple is what we're going to do to differentiate or go between what weather is and what climate is. So we're going to write the definitions underneath these when we glue it down in our journal in a special way that we've never done before in just a minute. But for right now, I just want for us to color these words weather and climate. So you're just going to shade. It should not take you long. But you're going to do the weather. You're going to shade that in purple. So again, notice I am not doing anything fancy. I am just shading it in. Now, I know it'll take you a little bit longer than me. That's fine. But purple over here on the weather side, that's all. You're not going to do anything there in the middle. And then once you have that one colored in purple, you're going to take your orange and you're going to shade over here on the climate side, whoopsies, in orange. Man. So purple on the weather and climate is orange. Sorry, y'all. Y'all know that these always look different on the screen than they do down here on mine. So I'm going to color it a little bit darker so it's easier to see. Sorry, y'all couldn't see that as well. Whoops. Okay, now don't put up your purple or your orange yet because we're still going to use them again with this other piece of paper, this little piece that I told you to cut out this rectangle also. They use some of the exact same words that we sorted just a minute ago, or you sorted with your groups and then I showed you where they should have gone. These have some of the same ones. They do have some different ones, so we'll talk about them when we get to it. But we are using those key words and we are going to color them in purple if they describe a weather word or weather words, and then orange if it describes the climate. So for the top one, a hot summer day, well, if it's talking about a hot summer day, if it's talking about the day right then it would be a weather word. Now, if I say something like, oh man, I can't wait to go on vacation on a hot summer day in June, I get it. That's a long time away. But if we're talking about it on the day of, then we're describing the weather. So that's what we're going to say that they were talking about here. So color this top one in, shade this one in purple. A hot summer day. Again, I'm not doing mine perfect. I don't need yours to be perfect either. So just shade in that top part purple. Okay, the next one says an average of 30 inches of rainfall a year. So remember, when we talked about average, when we were sorting a minute ago, an average means that we have to have a lot of different numbers put together to average them. So an average of 30 inches of rainfall a year, well, they're talking about, first of all, things that happen over a whole year's worth of time, but then also we have to know all kinds of other things that are going on in that year, which is considered long-term. So since it's long-term, we're going to color it orange because that would be climate information. So again, I'm not making mine perfect. You don't need to make it perfect either. Just shade in orange right there. Okay, the next one says based on current measurement. So they're talking about like the wind speed, that would be a measurement. Or how much rain has fallen today, that would be a measurement. Or how cloudy it is, what the temperature is. All those things are different. Well, I guess not the cloudiness, but the other things are all based on measurements, like current things that we can measure, like today, right now. So that would be weather. So we're coloring in the next one purple. Based on current measurements, that's purple. Okay, next. Based on long-term data, well, that was exactly what we had over there, long-term, and it says it in the definition on the board. So long-term, stuff that happens over long periods of time, or climate. So I'm going to color this one in orange as well. Now, I know we're in a pattern, but we may not stay that way, so let's not just think it has to be in a pattern. Whoopsies, y'all heard that marker fall. Okay, next one says it rained on Monday. Well, Monday would be a very specific time, one day, and so that would be considered a weather information. It rained on Monday. Okay. Next, a long-term time frame, again, means over a long period of time, so that would be climate. Still on this pattern. Sorry, I'll never realized how difficult it was to color when you're being recorded. Or maybe I'm like this all the time and y'all just don't tell me. Okay, next, short-term time frame. Again, the opposite of long-term would be short-term, so we're talking about something that's happening today or tomorrow or in the next few days. So that would be considered weather. Weather. And then the last one, long, dry summers. Well, again, summers, especially from right now, they're a good little ways away, unfortunately. But also, they're things that are like not just in the next couple of days. So they're weeks and months. And even if we were in the summer, if I'm saying something to describe how summers always are, I'm talking about over time, like the summer this year and last year and the last few years. So that would be over long periods of time. So this would be climate. So look at there, it did stay a pattern this whole time. Who knew? Not me. Just kidding. Okay, so we've got these two papers then. Again, starts with purple and it goes purple, orange, purple, orange, purple, orange, purple, orange. So all of those. Now, I do want to show you one more thing that we'll just touch on a little bit more, not today, but I wanted to go ahead and put it in our journals for today. Whoops, that's upside down. This is major world climate zones. And so, just like it says, in the world, they've broken up the world into these different categories where we have different types of climate. So we'll talk about these words, like I said, a little bit more later. But for right now, tropical, the one that's in the middle, that would be like the warmest. It stays the warmest most of the time in the year. Temperate is stays pretty warm during the summer, but it gets pretty cold during the winter time. And then polar would be like the opposite of tropical. Polar is one a climate zone where it stays cold almost all the time. Like even in the summertime, it's pretty cold. So we are going to color with our other three colors, yellow and blue and green. We're going to color in these different zones over here. So let's start first with the yellow. Yellow is tropical. So notice I'm coloring this middle dot right here. So don't mess up and accidentally color that top dot. It's not that one. Tropical right here. Now, tropical is everything from this 0 line that goes across up to the 30 and also the 0 line down to the 30. So we're actually going to color in these two zones all together. So color them in. Again, try really hard. I know I don't ever need you to make it perfect, but I just want for you to color and not try hard not to get it out of those lines because that would be a different color zone. So everything here in the middle. Beautiful. Okay. Next, the temperate ones. If it is temperate, we're going to color it green. So I want you to fill in that bubble green there for temperate. And again, that means that it gets pretty warm during the summer, but then it also gets pretty cold during the winter. So they have a lot of different seasons, which, you know, in Texas, we do have like summer, spring, winter, and fall, of course. But our temperature doesn't change a whole lot compared to other places. So for temperate, it's the zone right up above this one. So from the 30 line to the 60 line, and also down here from this 30 line to the 60 line. So I'm going to shade in this green. And then also do the other 30 to 60 down here in green as well. Okay, so again, tropical zones in the middle, temperate zones there on the top and on the bottom of the tropical zones. And then the last one is the polar, and so I told y'all the polar zones are ones that stay pretty cold all of the time. And so that's why they are near the poles. So from the 60-degree north line up to the top and also the 60-degree south line down to the bottom, those are closest to the poles, the North Pole and the South Pole. And so they are called the polar zones, and they stay cold all the time. So we're going to color those in blue. Top one and bottom one too. Okay. Now, what you're going to do is you are going to take out your journal and your glue stick, and you'll need these 3 pieces of paper. We're going to glue them in, but we also have to write some stuff down, like the definitions and, of course, the title and the date and the page number and all that kind of stuff. So right now, Miss Shipman, you can go ahead and pause the video and let them get out their journals and things, and I'll grab mine also. So I've got my science journal. Now I'm just using my yellow group, so Miss Kelly's group journal right here. But let's not forget, we were talking about science, so it's in the front section. So I'm going to go to whatever my next blank page is. Yellow group or green group, it doesn't matter which page number, just as long as you're in the front section and you're going to the next blank page. But for me, that is page 24. So whatever page number it is for you, I want for you to go ahead and write your page number up here at the top. Put today's date, which is 1-27-25. And then this is going to be called just weather versus climate. Weather versus climate. Now, we've got all 3 of those pages that we are going, or all 3 of those pieces of paper that we're going to be gluing down on this section. So for right now, I want for us to start with the very first thing that we colored, and that's this. Now, we've never glued down a paper the way that we're about to glue this one down, so please do not start gluing without me. But here's what I want for you to do first. First of all, these are going to be glued down, but the flaps are going to be left open. So the glue is really only going to be like in this middle part, but on the back side. So to get there, I want for you to take this paper and you're going to fold it on that line. So fold it just like this. Just make a good hard fold so that we can see it from the other side. So again, I just folded that piece. Okay, you're going to do the same thing to this side too. You're going to fold it on that dotted line right there too. Okay. So I've got it folded here and folded here. Now I wanted to make it a good fold. That way when I turn it over, I can easily tell what part is going to be sticking to the paper. It's just this tiny little part in the middle. So when you're using your glue stick today, friends, make sure that we are just putting glue on this center piece. We need to be able to lift up those flaps to write a definition here in just a little bit. So here in the middle, just in this middle crease part, I'm going to put glue. Now I know we normally trace the perimeter and put a box, but that's a tiny little box. So I'm just going to color in just that tiny little middle part. We're going to glue this right underneath our title here. Okay. Okay, Now, let's lift up each flap, and we are going to write a definition for each one. So one definition for weather over here, and then after we write weather, we will put one on this side over here for climate too. So weather is on this side. Our weather definition. Underneath weather, we're going to put what we have on our weather card up there. So it's going to say the condition of the atmosphere. The condition of the atmosphere. Oh, that's a long word to fit right there, y'all. The condition of the atmosphere for a short time. And since they put short in all caps, I'm going to do the same thing. So you do that too, for a short time. Sorry, the condition of the atmosphere for a short time. Okay, next, let's lift up the flap for climate. And under the climate side, we're going to write the same definition from our definition card for climate. This one's a little bit longer. It says the average temperature and precipitation. The average temperature and precipitation in an area over a long period of time. Now, I probably should have said this, probably should have said this at the beginning before I started writing, but it's okay. I know that this definition is long and not everybody writes the same size as me, so if yours takes up more space and it's not all covered up in a minute, that's totally fine, but make sure that you have all these words. So the average temperature and precipitation in an area over a long period of time. Okay, next we're going to take the paper that we colored to match the weather and climate colors, so this one right here. We're going to take this, we're going to glue it down right underneath. So for this one, since it's a bigger, normal-ish size piece of paper, we're going to do what we always do. So trace the perimeter, put an X in the middle, and put that paper down right there. Okay. So we know any of the purple ones are being described by this definition, and any of the orange ones on this list are being described by that definition. Okay, and then lastly, let's put this weather map, I'm sorry, not weather map, sorry, the climate area zone map down here at the bottom. So I'm just gluing that down to the bottom of the page here. So I've got all three pieces glued right there on the front of this paper. Now, when you're finished doing that, as always, we are supposed to put our things in our front table of contents. So we're going to flip back to the front, and we are going to fill in all of our information. So it should say 1-27. The title is Weather versus Climate. And then the page number is whatever page number you just did that on. So for me, it's 24. It's okay if yours is not, as always. Okay, and that is all.